Imagine this. Not thunder, not a scream, just silence. The kind of silence that doesn't comfort, but warns. You're in your home, lights off, surrounded by a stillness that is anything but peaceful. And suddenly, the air thickens. It doesn't change temperature, it doesn't vibrate, but something inside you knows, something is there. Something without form, without a face. Something that doesn't show itself, but insists. You might call it intuition, a premonition, paranoia if you prefer the elegant labels of the unbelievers. But you're not the only one. Because there's an invisible whisper that transcends generations, cultures, and creeds. The certainty often denied but never silenced that there are forces around us, asking neither permission nor forgiveness. Forces that don't seek spectacle but consent. That don't need to appear as beasts with blazing eyes and sulfur breath. They prefer subtlety. Disguised as routine, as rootless anxiety, as dark thoughts no one remembers planting. And yes, also as logic that rationalizes the irrational. I'm just tired, it's probably stress. Everyone feels like this sometimes. Everyone. But not everyone recognizes it. There's a war going on. But it's not the one you imagine. No explosions, no armies, no flags. There are tight schedules, social media, shiny distractions. There are empty souls and orderly but uninhabited hearts. And there right there is where the enemy settles in, as if it were home. An exaggeration? Listen to the words in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 11, verses 24 to 26. It doesn't speak of violent possession or a horror movie scene. Jesus describes something far more unsettling, a spirit that leaves and returns. And when it returns, it finds the house clean, swept, and decorated. So it doesn't come alone. It brings 7 more. And what was once deliverance becomes an even deeper condemnation. What irony! The soul, purified but uninhabited, becomes a mansion for demons. As if casting out evil isn't enough unless good is allowed to dwell there. The great tragedy of our time isn't blatant wickedness. It's spiritual uprootedness. Disconnection dressed up as modernity. People who believe in God, but in their own way. People who pray when they remember. Good people, yes, but unprotected. Because the enemy doesn't need you to worship him. It's enough for him that you ignore God. Have you ever felt trapped by a fear without a face? Haunted by a sadness that defies all logical explanation? Chased by thoughts that don't sound like you, but cling to your mind like a catchy tune? You're not crazy. You're under siege. And no, this isn't just about those who are living in sin. That's another trap of the adversary, making us believe that his influence is limited to extreme cases, to lives that are already falling apart. But demons don't discriminate. All they need is a crack, a distracted heart, a soul that has stopped praying. The contrast is brutal. The more we fill our schedules, the more we empty our spirits. The more connected we are to the world, the more disconnected we become from the eternal. And into that hollow space, the enemy enters not with violence, but with courtesy, like someone who knocks on the door and finds it open. Knowing is not enough. Knowledge without action is a sophisticated form of self-destruction. The good news is that victory is within reach. But it's not automatic. It requires a decision. It requires discipline. It requires awakening. Faith is not a lucky charm. It's a living relationship, a flame that must be fed every day. Prayer is not the repetition of formulas. It's resistance against forgetting. Reading the Word is not just a devotional task, it's sharpening the sword. Staying close to God is not a pious suggestion, it's a matter of survival. Because the enemy doesn't get tired. He doesn't give up. He doesn't leave just because you ignore him. He only pulls back, waiting for you to let your guard down. And when you do, he never comes back alone. So ask yourself truly with raw honesty, how is your relationship with God? It's not too late. It never is as long as you're breathing. But every minute of distraction is a meter of ground surrendered. And the enemy, like every cunning invader, builds castles on abandoned ground. Today could be the day you close the doors not out of fear, but out of conviction. That you cleanse, yes, but also fill. That you don't just cast out, but invite in. That silence is no longer the prelude to an assault, but the echo of a living presence. God is not far away. He's just waiting for you to invite him to dwell in what you've cleansed for him. You are not fighting alone, but you must fight. Because ignoring the battle doesn't stop it, it only leaves you more exposed. And if this message touched you even with a sting of discomfort or a spark of revelation, share it. Not for virality, but for faithfulness. Because awakening was never meant to be a private act. It's a collective calling. Light makes no noise, but it changes everything.